you shouldn't buy a house. Having a feeling of not ready and having a verification that you're not ready, but with a plan, is going to be far better every time. Right? Even though a home can be one of the greatest leveraging opportunities you could ever have, you think about putting $20,000 into an asset like stocks or Bitcoins or something with an aggressive appreciation rate of, let's call it a return rate of 12%. You put $20,000 in that, and guess what that rate's going to be based off of? That return rate's going to be based off of the $20,000. You put $20,000 down on a house, condo, $550. Guess what your home appreciation rate of return is going to be based off? Not on your 20 grand, but on your $550,000 asset you just bought. But buying's not for you. And you know what? That's okay. Buying a home isn't for everyone. Yes, I just showed an example where it can be really phenomenal. That doesn't mean you have to buy. It doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice things to buy just because it sounds like it makes sense. People ask me all the time, should I buy a house? And the first question they should be answering is, why should you not buy a house? Let's see if your scenario is one of those that justifies not making this move. One of the biggest reasons for not making the move is not being ready. Don't buy the house if you're not ready to actually buy. But what does ready look like? Ready is going to be usually determined in 3 different factors when we think about qualifications for a house. The first is going to be credit. Sosi, I'm not ready to buy a house. My credit score is not where I want it to be. Okay. Where's your credit score at? There's some loan programs where you can get a home with a FICO score is down to 580. Others even go lower. If you want good rates, probably going to want to be above the 620s at minimum. If you want good rates in a high loan amount area, well, then you might want to be 680 at minimum or 720. If you want really good rates there, 740. What if my rate's not that high? Well, again, maybe you're not ready. Some of the things you can do to try to look at getting yourself ready in that category is, chatting with a credit professional about authorized user. Meaning that you potentially sign up on the credit card with your spouse, your mom and dad, and you're able to have their credit history transferred over to you from a credit reporting standpoint and seeing your score potentially boost up. You want to do this under the right circumstances, the right guidance. That's why you speak with that credit professional, but that can potentially help. In addition, one of the biggest things that impacts your credit is a credit utilization rate. It means if you have $1,000 on a credit card limit, don't spend all the way up to the $1,000. The typical golden rule or the rule of thumb on a credit card utilization is that $1,000 should never have more than $30 to $300 of that credit card utilization use. So again, $1,000 limit, mentally think to yourself, this is a $300 limit. Putting your credit cards there can be a huge help. And if you have 5 credit cards and they're all maxed out, yeah, you can do the snowball method where you pay off the lowest credit card first, you keep the payment off, and you pay off all your credit cards in the fastest way possible. That can be really effective to get out of the credit card debt. But if you're looking at your credit score, it might be more effective, pay them all down to 50% and then pay them all down to 30%. And then from there, pay them off gradually until you get them all off. Because again, that might impact your credit score best. Another little hack with credit is if you get a bank offering you an increased credit limit with a credit card you already have without running your credit score, take it. Now, let's say you were at a $600 amount at the 1,000, but now they just increase your credit score to 4,000. You're that much closer to the right utilization rate. Take that, because that's one way to be able to get that utilization rate without paying more out of your pocket. Area number 2 that people look at where they see they're not ready to buy a house yet is budget. More specifically, budgeting for a down payment. Now, there are loan programs that do allow you to have assistance with the down and for the closing costs. And so there's going to be a more minimal out of pocket. But being a mortgage and being a human being, I think we all know there's nothing for free. And banks aren't necessarily known as charity organizations. They're not nonprofits. I used to work for a nonprofit. I know what one looks like. Banks are trying to make money. And a lot of these first-time home buyer programs will either be in the form of a grant with a higher interest rate or a first and second mortgage attached onto your property or something else that's similar there. I'm not saying all these first-time home buyer programs are bad. And I'm not even saying they're bad. I'm just saying there's details that you want to make sure you're aware of before you pull the trigger there. But there are availabilities for you to be able to buy a house with very minimal out of pocket and still be super happy, have the lifestyle you want, and then see that leverage into new opportunities in the year to come. I've had clients where they did buy with the first-time home buyer program. We were in a market where the seller covered all their closing costs. They literally paid almost nothing out of pocket. Then a year and a half later, they're refinancing, lowering that payment, taking a little bit of money out, and they're in a way better position than they ever thought that they would have ever been able to be in. And they bought with the first-time home buyer, nothing out of pocket program. It was fantastic. So make sure that if your challenge is the budget and the down, first identify what product am I going for? Are there no down payment options for me? Are those beneficial for me? And then if those are a no, I need more down. Make sure you actually make a plan and a budget to get your funds to the down payment required and reserves required if the loan product requires it, so that you can actually get that house when you're ready in the fastest timeline. The third category that many people look at and say they're not ready is still with the budget, but budgeting specifically for their debt to income ratio. From a personal budget standpoint, this is going to be your cash flow. How much money am I having after all my expenses are paid now? And projectively, how much money would I have after all the expenses are paid when I buy the house? This debt to income ratio could be one of the biggest challenging parts, because the secret about being pre-approved is that no one really gets pre-approved for a purchase price. What you get pre-approved for is a monthly allowance of obligational debt. Everything's about monthly payment. Everything's about what you're allowed in regards to your debt to income ratio. That is one of the biggest factors in qualification in your pre-approval process. That is usually the biggest factor that hinder people from buying a house. This means that maybe you have to budget out paying off your debt in those snowball effects. This means you might have to make sure to be super proactive on when is your next raise, when is your tax refund coming if you qualify for one, how to use that lump sum instead of putting it as down payment, but paying off credit cards or paying cars down to a certain amount so you can omit the car payment. Looking at what other things can happen. Do you have scenarios where family members wanted to help you and this was already a plan and you just got to make a move to be able to do it, as people want to be able to guide you and be an aid to you? These are all great examples to be able to look at. Yet, sitting down with somebody, making a personal financial plan for you to identify, is my credit score, is my down payment, is my debt to income ratio that is holding me back, showing me that I'm not ready? You want to sit with this professional, because one thing about personal finance, many personal finance people don't tell you, is that it's personal. And if you want to buy a house, but you know it's not your time yet, the goal is sitting down with somebody who's smart enough to go through your personal scenario in detail with you and identify, are we not ready because we feel like we're not ready? Or are we not ready because we also need to make a plan in credit growth, budgeting for down, or budgeting for better debt to income ratio allowance? Having a feeling of not ready and having a verification that you're not ready, but with a plan, is going to be far better every time. And most of all, you deserve to make decisions based on true information, not just on whim. Comment, like, share, ask me any questions you guys got around this, and I'll chat with you in the comments. Bye-bye.